Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Art of Being a Woman. I'm your host, Courtney, and today we are discussing the art of navigating disrespect. I am looking forward to discussing this topic more in depth because it's something that each and every one of us has experienced before, and most likely we are going to experience it again. Not because people are bad and negative necessarily, but because it's just a part of life. We are always met with opposition. We're met with opposite energy, not to bring us down, but to really challenge us in a way that gives us more inner strength and gives us more confidence. It's very easy to always be in a good mood when nothing is challenging your mood. But it's even more impressive and powerful when we are being challenged and someone is trying to bring our energy down, whether it's conscious or not, and we still choose to remain in a good mood. This doesn't mean that we're meant to suppress how we feel if we are hurt by what someone is saying. If we are hurt by something disrespectful that someone is saying, that's perfectly fine, and we should allow ourselves to feel that. But at the same time, we don't want to allow it to consume us so much that it brings us down for longer than it needs to. So we're going to discuss how to really do that with 4 steps, as always, that I covered on my Instagram account and my Threads account at She Is Artfully Woman. If you aren't following me yet, I would love for you to join me on both platforms. I post on Instagram at least once a week, and I post on Threads every single day, and I respond to every single comment on both Instagram and Threads. So I look forward to seeing you there. Now, the 4 steps that we are going to get into are the following. Step 1. Know that disrespect is a reflection of the person dishing it. Step 2. Identify the motive behind the disrespect. Step 3. Take control by using the power of silence. And step 4. Redirect your focus away from the disrespect. Let's get into step 1. Know that disrespect is a reflection of the person dishing it. This is crucial. This is something that we have to ingrain in our mind, because in the moments that someone is being disrespectful towards us and they are saying hurtful comments, degrading comments, whatever it may be, our ego is so quick to react, and our ego is so quick to take things personally and make everything about us. And honestly, it's really easy to fall for that illusion that the disrespect that someone is directing towards us is about us because they're making it known. They're saying it out loud to our face. But as we discuss in so many episodes on this podcast, each and every one of us are fully in control of our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Usually we discuss how it applies to us and how we deal with other people, but it goes both ways. It also applies to everyone else. So when other people choose to say hurtful things and they choose to allow their feelings to influence their actions in a negative way, that is 100% that person's business, and that is 100% that person's problem. In last week's episode, The Art of Setting Boundaries That Last, we discussed how we need to think of ourselves as a house. And in order to protect our house, we create a fence. What that fence does is it keeps what's good, what helps us grow, what's beneficial within the fence, and anything that's negative or harmful outside of that fence. That analogy applies with disrespect as well, because disrespect is something that's harmful. It's something that can distort the way that we see ourselves and the way that we view other people. So it's important that we make sure that we keep disrespect and a person that is disrespecting us outside of our fence, meaning we set a firm boundary around disrespect and we make sure that we don't let it too close to our energy. We don't let it too close to our inner space, so to speak, because ultimately people that are dishing disrespect, people that are negative and they are clearly projecting it onto you. They are truly just hurting inside. And many times they are completely unaware of the negativity that they carry. And on top of that, they can also truly believe that the disrespect that they're dishing is appropriate and necessary for whatever reason. But there is never a reason to disrespect another person. There's always a kind way to phrase things, no matter what. We don't have to degrade someone. We don't have to put them down. We don't have to insult them or make them feel bad about themselves to get our point across. And anyone that claims otherwise has some real self-reflecting to do, because that shows me that perhaps internally the dialogue that you have with yourself is also negative, which is sad. It's sad to be at war with yourself, because ultimately you are the one person that's supposed to have your own back. So I really do sympathize with those that do dish out disrespect and they are clearly unaware of what it is they're doing and why it is they're doing it. But that doesn't take away from my responsibility of protecting myself and protecting my energy. And the same thing goes for every single person listening to this episode. Our main priority always is protecting ourselves and protecting our energy. And the only way to truly protect your energy in these types of circumstances is by not internalizing it. Don't even allow it to cross your mind that what the other person is telling you has anything to do with you, even if they say it does, even if they are really hitting at things that you're still insecure about. It has nothing to do with you. And when you remember that, you are clearly able to see the situation for what it is, which makes it a lot easier for you to follow the next 3 steps. Let's get into step 2. Identify the motive behind the disrespect. For me personally, when I can understand the patterns and the reasoning behind why someone is doing the things that they're doing, it really helps me detach emotionally from a situation. So that's usually what I do first when I'm being disrespected. I try my best to let the comment slide, and I really just tell myself in those initial moments where I do feel like I'm getting a bit triggered that maybe I'll respond, maybe I won't respond. But before I make that decision, I really want to know why this person decided to be disrespectful towards me. What was their intention behind it? Because we all have motives behind the things that we're doing, whether we're conscious of it or not. And these motives are very, very telling, because once we can pinpoint what the other person is trying to really gain on a deeper level from dishing this disrespect, we know exactly what not to do. For example, sometimes people are being disrespectful towards us because they're trying to get a reaction out of us. Sometimes people really do enjoy triggering others. They love to see when other people lose their cool. That's something that I've experienced too. But there's other motives as well. Sometimes people are disrespectful to assert control over you. Perhaps they're more of an authoritative figure in your life. So they test you by being disrespectful here and there to see how much they can get away with around you. And they can also be testing your boundaries. It's not always about asserting control. It can just be about someone trying to gauge how much they can push you around and assess how tolerant you are to disrespect, which is kind of dangerous, if you ask me. So if that sounds like something that you experience with someone, be very wary of that. Lastly, another common motive could be that someone is just an overall frustrated person. They have a lot of pent-up anger inside that has nothing to do with you, and you know it, but it gets taken out on other people through disrespect. Although this motive can feel a little less intense, it's still something that requires boundaries, because we should not be tolerating anybody's frustration, because it is not our responsibility to tolerate anybody's pent-up anger and frustration, even if we love them and we're very close to them. Now, once we figure out what the motive is, we have the opportunity to stop reacting emotionally and start being a bit more strategic with what we do next, whether we do decide to respond or we don't. either way, our response will be coming from a more clearer place because now we see the big picture. We're not just looking at it from our point of view. So we're looking at it from both our and their point of view. And we realize that the cards are in our hands. Because once the person is disrespectful, we decide what kind of meaning is given to the disrespect. Do we care? Are we affected? Do we stoop to their level? Do we ignore them? It's up to us. We get to decide. And not only that, we realize that we don't have to do anything at all. We don't even have to make a decision. Usually when we're dealing with only one person and they're being disrespectful to us, it's a lot easier for us to confront them. But if someone is being disrespectful to us in a large group, perhaps, it can be more intimidating. And we can feel this pressure to either stand up for ourselves because many people witness the disrespect, or perhaps it's quite the opposite for us. We feel that if so many people are around, we cannot stand up for ourselves because there are too many people that might think negatively of us. So it's really a power move to really take a moment to pause after you've reminded yourself that whatever disrespect this person is throwing at you has nothing to do with you, and you don't have to participate. Ultimately, the choice is yours. Step 3. Take control by using the power of silence. This is my personal favorite weapon of choice when dealing with disrespect, because there's something about starving negativity that really just kills it at the root. I like to think of those intense fasts that people do to really eliminate the toxins out of their body. And I like to compare it to people that are disrespectful to us more than once. Because generally, I'm someone that doesn't love confrontation. I don't like to argue. I'd rather if we all just agree and we're pretty accommodating to one another. But as we know, that's not how life works, and it's not always going to be super smooth in our relationships, no matter how hard we try or how close we are to other people. Usually, if someone is disrespectful to me once, and I personally feel like it's not in their nature to do that, I'll be very transparent and ask them straight up, why would you say that? Sometimes when you put the other person on the spot, it makes them a bit uncomfortable because it forces them to self-reflect in real time. But also, it gives them an opportunity to really redeem themselves, in my opinion. Perhaps they said something disrespectful and they didn't realize, or that wasn't their intention, they didn't mean to. Their wording was just harsh because they weren't really thinking about what they were saying. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes the other person did mean to be disrespectful. They did mean to upset you, hurt your feelings, trigger you, so on and so forth. When that happens, I have found that it's best to really starve the other person from my attention, starve the other person from my warmth, and really go silent. And the funny thing about that is I've actually gotten told before when I've done this that I'm giving the silent treatment. And I remember hearing that and truly feeling bad at the time. And I wasn't sure if going silent was the right thing to do, because I ultimately don't want to hurt the other person, but I also know that it's my responsibility to protect my energy. Luckily though, I've learned a lot through Kabbalah, which is a spiritual wisdom, and it pretty much confirmed that what I was doing was actually the best thing that I can do for both people involved, because it shows the other person that if they want to get access to my energy, which is positive, then they're going to have to meet me where I'm at. I'm not going to stoop down to your level and get angry and bitter just because you're trying to bring me down. And on top of that, we reinforce the power that we've always had over ourselves. We are in control of our energy, and we are in control of what we do with our energy and what we entertain, what we react to, the words that come out of our mouth. Those are all things that we are in control of. And we never want to give someone else power to influence us in such a negative way, no matter what. I would truly consider step 3 for me personally a firm boundary that I have in my life. I do not respond to disrespect, and it has truly changed my life for the better and my relationships for the better. It's definitely allowed me to be more strategic with where I put my energy when it comes to relationships. So if I notice that certain relationships in my life I'm dealing with disrespect, I will just pull my energy away from that relationship. I will be less inclined to talk with that person. That doesn't mean I'm giving them the silent treatment, that I'm angry with them or holding a grudge towards them, because ultimately I know that their disrespect has nothing to do with me. But I also know that my energy is precious, it's valuable, and I value it. So I'm not going to be giving it out freely to those that don't see the value in that and mistreat me. That doesn't mean that I will never speak to someone that has been disrespectful to me ever again, but it does mean that I take all the time I need until I feel like there has been a reset in the dynamic and I don't feel like my guard is up with that person. I have noticed in my own life that when I do this, I am so much happier. I am able to self-regulate much quicker than I ever have. In the past, when someone was disrespectful towards me, it would really hurt my feelings and it would really affect me so much. I would think about it all day long, perhaps more than a day, and it would be hard to be around that person if they didn't apologize to me because I just couldn't get over the disrespect. I would take it so personally. But now that I use the power of silence and pulling back my energy to my advantage, it's rare that disrespect phases me. So much that if it does and when it does, I immediately know that it's something that I have to work on within myself. I lost my cool and I need to work on being less reactive in these situations. But it's a process. I don't hate on myself or bring myself down in those moments where I do react. I just know that over time I am improving, and that's really what matters to me the most. And honestly, that's what matters in general, that we're growing and we're putting in the work to become better versions of ourselves every single day. Step 4, redirect your focus away from the disrespect. I feel like I touched on this a little bit in step 3, but let's just dive deeper into this specific point in the situation. Let's say our sibling disrespected us and we love them, of course, but it gets to a point. Love is not a get out of jail free card. Disrespect is disrespect. So they disrespected us, let's say in a group family setting, because they were frustrated with something that happened earlier on in their day. You noticed that they were already on edge, a little bit in a mood, but at first it wasn't directed at you, so you didn't mind it. But now that the frustration ended up getting turned on you, you have to deal with it. You have to take responsibility for how you respond next. Let's say you decide that you're going to use the power of silence to your advantage. So you don't respond to them. This doesn't mean that you ignore them or that you pretend you didn't hear. Honestly, I would suggest that you look your sibling in the face and choose silence so that they know that you heard them, but you're not dignifying their comment with a response. Now, after you decide to do that, step 4 comes into play, because what do we do next? Personally, what I do is I put my energy where it's valued. So if that means putting it into another family member that's neutral or in a more positive mood, then I will just start talking about something that's more neutral and more positive to that other person. If there is no neutral positive person around, I take all of my energy and I pour it back into myself. Whether that means I do something productive that benefits me, that can be responding to messages or emails that I meant to respond to. It can be reading a book, going for a walk in nature, fill in the blank, anything that restores your energy and lifts up your mood. Those are some ways that you can redirect your focus away from the disrespect. But I also want to acknowledge that there are instances where you do use the power of silence and the other person calls it out, and it triggers more disrespect from the other person because they don't like that they're not being given attention, because that's usually what the other person is after in these moments of disrespect. And honestly, when that does happen, I find honesty is the best policy. Always. You can simply say that you don't respond to disrespect. So if they want to have a conversation where they're not being disrespectful, you're open to that. You welcome that. But if they're going to be disrespectful when they're trying to talk to you, you're going to have to remove yourself from the conversation. Obviously, you don't have to use those exact words, but that's pretty much what I usually say if it ever gets to that point. I do want to add that being able to go through this whole process, it really does require you to face your fear of overcoming people pleasing, if that's something you're still working on. And it also requires you to start setting boundaries, which is also challenging if the disrespect is coming from a relationship where you don't really have that many limits with this person. But it's a great way to go about tackling two areas of self-improvement at once. By standing up for yourself when you're navigating disrespect in a way that's clean, in a way that doesn't bring your energy down, you gain self-respect and you start attracting relationships that match that level of self-respect that you have for yourself, which is crucial because we all want to be surrounded by people that respect us, not just love us. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. It was definitely a more feisty topic, but I really enjoyed it. Navigating disrespect is tricky because there's really no blueprint, no guidelines as to how to really handle these situations with class. And that's really why I wrote about this topic and I wanted to discuss it on a podcast so that anybody looking for guidance in this area of life can access it and use it. If you enjoyed this topic and you enjoyed what we've discussed, please rate this podcast and comment your thoughts and feelings. I would love to hear from you. Please share this with a friend or a family member or anyone that you think might benefit from this episode. I hope you have an amazing week. I love you all. Until next episode, bye for now.